Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Air Firetalk Radio, flight number 30. I am your captain speaking. It's going to be a long flight today. We've got to kind of go around Siberia towards Alaska and, I don't know, maybe stop in Cleveland. I'm going to try to avoid that, though. We've got just a quick note from the entertainment staff. Please stay off of Channel 5. I have no idea how that got on there. I can assure you, though, that both the woman and the horse are okay at the end. The cabin staff will be going around and performing complimentary cavity searches. Complimentary cabin service, and of course, the requisite quantities of Fresca and canned peanuts. Please sit back, enjoy, ignore the loud bumping coming from the passenger area, the cargo area under your feet, and enjoy your flight.
I can only count to 4. I can only count to 4. I can only count to 4. I can only count to 4.
Wow, that music was really loud in my headphones.
Are you
sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you. The music was really loud in my headphones.
Yeah. The music, it was loud in my headphones.
It happens.
For once, we have Ryan speechless.
I lost myself on Sean's introduction to the show. That was mind-numbingly funny. I will give you that.
You're disappointed you're not getting a cavity search, aren't you?
I don't want a cavity search, thank you.
Oh, come on, they're so
fun.
fun.
I'm coming around to 40, and I already know that's going to eventually happen shortly, so let's not.
Did I ever tell you when I got detained by TSA in Amsterdam? Or no, it wasn't TSA. It was.
It ends with and 15 yards of greased chain and.
No, so
I have a feeling. Oh, he put the glove on and it went all the way to his elbow.
No, there was no searching. But no, it was so between my freshman and sophomore year of college, I went backpacking through Europe for most of the summer, like 2 months. So most of the summer. And this was in 2002. So right after 9/11. And so we flew into France and then backpacked through Europe. We went to France, Germany, Poland, Netherlands, into Russia, back into Poland, we went all over. And our flight was to fly out of Amsterdam. Well, when we landed, there was 4 of us in our party, but not all of us could stay the whole time. When we came back, there was only 2 of us left. And we got to Amsterdam early. And so we ended up, because we had no place to stay that night. We didn't want to stay in any more hostels. We were kind of out of money at this point. So we went straight to the airport and checked in and went through security and everything to stay at the airport overnight because our plane left at early in the morning sometime. By the way, the plane that was supposed to leave ended up staying on the tarmac for 7 hours.
That's never fun.
Counting a 12-hour flight.
That's a no bueno. It's a no bueno move.
Yeah. Because it had malfunction issues, they said. We don't know. But during that time... This
never happens to me, baby.
I mean, at least they caught the malfunction before it took off. That'd be sucky in mid-flight. They'd be like, engine's on fire.
So we get to, we go through security check And me and the person I'm with, we get called to the side for secondary security check. And they take us into a room separate rooms. Yeah.
Wow.
And I couldn't not be a smartass. So we could have been out of there really fast. But you ask me stupid questions, I give stupid answers.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
And so they questioned us why we landed with 4 and why did such and such person leave early? Why did another person leave? Why we were in Russia for one day. I'm like, because, how much is there to see in Russia? It's just a bunch of land. I mean, why we circled back around to the same places, why, like, they were asking all this stuff, trying to figure out if we were smuggling, if we were terrorists, if we were
smuggling terrorists.
I don't remember what was asked, but I said something about, no, nothing's inside of me. I've got too tight of an ass to be able to hide something up there.
Oh, God.
All
I hear is please bend over and please spread them.
You put the pro in anal probe.
They took an X-ray of me. They didn't like anal probe me or anything. They just took like a doctor's X-ray.
They took a picture of your bunghole.
They like took a abdomen picture.
So how's your butthole?
Wider now. But so for like 6.5 hours, we were, they were asking me, because the girl I was with, what's my relationship with her? She's a friend of mine. Actually, she's my friend's older sister, who we hated each other by the end of the trip.
Usually it ends up happening that way.
Yeah. So, what's my relationship with her? How long I've known her? What's her middle name? I'm like, how the hell do I know her middle name? She doesn't know mine. I still haven't figured out yours. Asked me if I was getting smart with him. I told him, well, I, not that smart to begin with. So I'm not sure how that can happen. Yep. Then we get back to the States and, of course, get flagged again. They go through all of our luggage again.
That's okay. As silly as he was, I have a better story with airport security.
My story was better about 20 years ago. I just forgot most of it.
No. This happened 10 years later, but oh my God, it's the same. We'll call it security theater. So Ginger and I got married in 2011, and we're flying down to Disney World. Yeah, we're going to Disney World. And, being the romantic, when I filled out the airline reservations, I'm like, oh, Sean and Ginger Woods. Forgetting, of course, that it takes 6 to 8 weeks and the blood of a unicorn for all the paperwork to go through to legally change Ginger's name. So we get to Dulles, and they're like, they look at her driver's license. They look at the flight reservation. They're like, the last name doesn't match. We managed to bluff our way through, and, we've got the Just Married T-shirts on. Of course, I didn't have a copy of the wedding license because that's getting filed and, being passed over and
you
whatever.
You just fucked everything up, didn't you, Sean?
Yeah, I just effed everything up. So we managed to get through the first stockade. We got through it. We got on the plane, got down, had a great honeymoon, coming back. I'm like, okay, let me just hold this off. I'm just going to go over to the reservation desk and just change the name on the reservation.
Oh, no.
There was latex gloves involved by the end of it. Ginger was in like the little mime box in the center of the thing, getting worked over, prodded, everything. I mean, I felt about like this tall.
I'm sure.
Because I'm watching all this going on. Like, if this was like the Middle Ages, I'd be like going after them with a sword. You're defiling my pride. But
wow. Oh, I do remember them asking the obligatory, "Did you pack your luggage yourself, your bags yourself?" And my version of a George Carlin joke jumped into my head. I didn't say it as good as him. And my version of it was, no, I was really lazy, so I just threw everything out the window and let the people walking by on the street pack it for me.
How'd that work?
They weren't amused. They never laughed at any of that.
I know. It's just humor's lost on them.
I know.
Because I think it was surgically removed.
So.
It had to be.
And then I was 20 years old, and I was already a police officer at that time because you can legally be 18, but usually most people are 21 because you have to be 21 to carry the firearm without being in uniform. So I had to leave my firearm at the station and pick it up and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So when they looked me up and everything, and I told them, and they didn't believe me. They thought I was impersonating someone else.
Or George Carlin at that point.
Or, well, that time I was impersonating George Carlin. Really poorly, by the way. Like, so bad impersonation. But, yeah, that was fun.
Jesus, you two make me feel like I'm a saint. I've never had an issue at an airport.
Well, you've just never had fun at airports then.
True, but I usually don't even go to airports. I'm the kind of that likes the drive.
Not anymore. Well, wonder what airline tickets are right now.
I don't even want to
talk
about
it. If gas prices are this high, I'm sure airline tickets went up.
Most likely. But let's get into some information here. So this is Firetalk Radio episode 30. It's just me, Sean, and Jason this evening. Andy is stuck somewhere in numbers. If you ever want to leave us an email, it is firetalknetwork@gmail.com. If you want to leave us a voicemail about any of our topics, it is 814-380-9820. And we are on almost every streaming service, so find us, listen to us, comment. And even though we are a pre-recorded show, we are live on YouTube currently. So come check us out. And music is always brought to you by Psychostick, who I went and got a haircut Friday. I had an interview today for a new job. The guy was playing Psychostick.
No way.
In the barbershop. And I was like, hey, I know those guys. He goes, really? And I said, yeah, that's Psychostick. And they're like, oh, they were talking about how they love the rendition of Danger Zone. I said, yeah, all right, you got to Obey the Beard. Do You Want a Taco? Bruce Campbell. And then we use the song Numbers for the radio show. He goes, that's awesome. Yeah, radio show.
Holy
shit. Small plug.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go. What?
Oh, keep going. I'll post it when you're done.
So dude ended up giving us like a small discount. Like he knocked like $10 off my bill, which then I turned around and put that money back on as his tip in the end. But overall, I mean, I have to say I'm gonna have to come back and check out his barbershop again. Oh, we got airline tickets, huh?
Well, I chose a city that's close to each other, so I chose Flint, Michigan to Detroit, which is like it says here it's a 3-hour flight or a 6-hour flight. It's like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Ew.
But look at the $900, $1,000 for a round trip.
That's because you're flying those tiny little commuter planes and you're practically chartering the flight. Now, if you did like Midway to Dulles,
Okay, so let's do.
No, don't go to Dulles. Go to Reagan. Reagan's a better airport.
Yeah, but Reagan's you're stuck on the commuter lines because the runways are so short. The only thing that
No,
gets in
this
and out
is
there's a
true.
737.
Let's do Detroit because I know that one.
So flying into Reagan instantly adds $100, $200 to your ticket, regardless of what you're doing, because they're stuck with the 737s or the little Airbuses.
Yeah.
W
Dulles.
to Dulles. What?
DAW IAD.
It's in Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia.
no.
Okay.
Oh, it's in Virginia. The airport code is IAD.
Okay. Virginia. W. Virginia. There it is. IAG. CHOP. Norfolk International.
Oh, this one must not go out of Dulles.
This is American, so I just went with the top of Google. Let's go Norfolk.
Go to Norfolk.
Oh, I know. Let's go to a big one. Let's go to Georgia and Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's a big hub for everyone. A B C D E F G.
No. Fucking O'Hare is a big one. I hate that airport.
No, Atlanta's just the ninth ring of hell. It's like every flight seems to go through there.
Every
I'm trying to go
from
to Atlanta. Well, you got to go through Atlanta first. Ah, damn it!
fly from Oregon to Michigan, and you have to go down to Atlanta first. Let's go further out. Rather than next week, we'll go April 26th, and we'll return May 3rd.
Yeah, but we got to spend a day in Russia first.
Yes.
Sure.
You know why we spent a day in Russia? Because they would only give us a 1 day. Actually, that's not bad. 234 for a round trip.
Well, I mean, you figure they've been stockpiling this fuel since Hector was a pup. So they've already paid for the gas for the next year and a half.
Yeah. I know in 2008 when the gas prices jumped then, and we had to fly back from Oregon to Michigan. The first one that we took wasn't that bad. The second one that we took like 6 months later, it jumped up like $600 a ticket. But so far, plane tickets aren't bad. So
We'll keep an eye on plane tickets.
Well, the other thing is that the cost of actually your ass in the seat and the gas in the tank has nothing to do with the price you're paying on the ticket for the airline. The ticket price is the most of the thing they can extract out of you, given that given your intended purpose for flying, and or are you flying on your own dime or somebody else's?
It also, I remember, had to do with how many people they could pack onto the plane.
There's this elaborate strategy that they use to maximize the amount of price they're going to get out of the ticket.
I feel bad for when they overbook a plane. They're like, "Oh yeah, we accidentally overbooked it." How can
There's
you
no accidentally
overbook a plane?
They overbook every plane, assuming that a certain percentage are not going to show up. That happens
certain
to me
airlines
when they do show up.
Airlines overbook.
Yeah, that happened to me with, what was it? Southwest, I think it was. Northwest, one of the Wests. And it actually was awesome for me because I got a free plane trip on my next trip. Because they wouldn't give me a refund for that trip, taking a later flight. So Kelly went back on a separate flight than me. But on the next flight that we went back, I got a free trip.
Yeah, back when it was like nuts in the early noughties, I kept thinking it would be great to just book a vacation and just get bumped and get that free hotel wherever you ended up, and then just get bumped and bumped and bumped and bumped. But I never got around to it. I feel like I've missed something. I mean, it's not as bad today.
I don't think you missed
There's
anything.
laws against what they used to do back in the early noughties today.
Well, and they didn't even tell you when we did it, this was at Portland Airport. They didn't even tell you like, oh yeah, you're not on this flight anymore. They basically said, hey, we overbooked. We need so many volunteers that can take a later flight, and you'll get a free ticket on a later date. Mm-hmm. And I told Kelly, I'm like, are you okay flying alone? Because we fly back to Michigan quite often, at least 2 or 3 times a year. So this will save us like, $700-800. Yeah. So it was cool. I think I got there like 2 hours after her because mine was a direct flight and hers had to go through Atlanta. So she went down to Atlanta. I was a direct flight, so mine took like all of 6 hours and hers took like 9. But because she left before me, she only got there like a couple hours before me and just stuck around.
Good timing.
Yeah. So that was before Chase was born. If we had our son with us, I don't think we would have done it.
Probably not.
So.
All right. So let's get into this. So what do we want to talk about first? On the docket, talk a little bit about the gas issues. Companies leaving Russia. The U.S. government is trying to create a digital currency.
Let's talk about the currency. That's a weird one to me.
Yeah, we can do the digital currency first. Yeah, I think we all have something to talk about with that in some way, shape. I could never get into like crypto money because I always feel like it ups and downs so much, and then 2, I think it could be stolen easier.
It's so the thing with the ups and downs is until it gets more like when it comes to like Bitcoin or some of the other big ones, until it gets adopted more, it's going to fluctuate a lot right now.
I have to tell you something about Bitcoin.
That'd be great because I know nothing of Bitcoin.
Ethereum.
I've always been curious.
So Ethereum, thank you. That's the other one I was thinking.
There we go.
So what people don't realize is, from a technical standpoint, they started off as a giant con. The first few, so they work by having a cryptograph. So you've heard of crypto mining?
Yes.
All right. What they're doing is they're searching for factors that solve an equation. And only certain magical ingredients do it, and it's very hard to predict where those numbers are going to be, and so you kind of have to brute force it. And when you get one of those mystical tokens and you register it, you have a Bitcoin, which is one of these magic numbers. And the first person to find it and discover it and register it has control of that Bitcoin. And a bunch of the other cryptos work along that same principle. If you've ever seen Sneakers, same thing.
Yeah. I love Sneakers. Sneakers was great. Not real, but great.
Actually, it wasn't that far off. There was a little bit of whatever.
Better than hackers.
That's not saying much.
My son watched Hackers for the first time, and he's like, is this really what hacking's like? No.
Well, getting back to it. So because there's only a finite number of these Bitcoins out there, they have a system of accounting so that you can kind of sell it off in chunks. And who's controlling which chunk is managed by something called the blockchain. And so what the blockchain essentially is, it's like, you pick up a museum piece and they've got the provenance of, it's Benjamin Franklin bought it, and then his daughter spilled grape juice on it, and it was given away to so-and-so, and it sat in a garage. Just the chain
nice
of custody.
little ledger of it. Okay.
So the person who, finds the Bitcoin starts a new blockchain, and the Bitcoin can be divided up 8 ways for Sunday as it goes through its little,
So it's like going back to the old gold days and cutting it up into pieces of 8 and giving a person an eighth.
Well, except
of
that
the
you never
coin.
get the eighth. What you get is a receipt from the bank saying that they have the eighth, because it's a number. It's a concept.
Right.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize, though, is that the people who developed the math for Bitcoin were engineering a scam. The first few blocks were super easy to find because that was the distribution system. The way that the numbers stacked up, essentially all the really easy to find numbers were in one easy to find block. So if you got in early, it was really super easy to get yourself 9, 10, 100 blocks. But as the number space opens up, the solutions are getting rarer and rarer and rarer and rarer, requiring more and more and more calculations to find and prove them. That it's a bit shady. It's very very shady.
I have some Bitcoin. And when I say some, I mean like 0.006% or something like that. Like not much. We're talking in the hundreds of dollars, not. I have one Bitcoin that's worth $56,000. But
I wish I had that. I'd get out of debt.
My understanding of it now, though, is because of the blockchain and because it's, when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, because it's essentially finite now. The total Bitcoin is a finite resource now, kind of like how gold was. Even though you can still mine for gold, you can get, but it's finite. It can't be manipulated as easily by things like the banking system, the feds, stuff like that. Or if I wanted to give it to you, there's not an intermediate that can say, no, you can't transfer it over.
That's not how it works at all. So you have to, so first off, remember I said there was the blockchain?
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
There's actually one of a finite number of entities that can manipulate the blockchain, because all changes to the blockchain need to go out into the world.
But aren't there multiple people that verify that blockchain? Isn't that the point of these?
The blockchain, they don't verify the blockchain. Just like you can have sites that mirror the New York Times, but the only way you really know is if you go back and check the original. And so there have been several cases where copies of the blockchain have been manipulated slightly. And let's just say that few people's Bitcoins ended up in somebody else's pocket because the copies that that person made reflect what they want the picture of the world to be. And because it's everybody's making copies and comparing everybody's copies against something, yes, it's very hard to introduce an error or not have it detected. But once you do have copies that have diverged, you really can't point back to the authoritative source on, well, who made this change and why. You just simply see an annotation on this Bitcoin that came out of this pocket, went to this pocket.
Seems too goddamn confusing and easy to steal shit.
And that's exactly what it is.
Well, now take that to the Fed coin, or what are they calling it? They're not.
They're just calling it a U.S. digital currency.
Yeah, U.S. digital currency, but kind of the colloquialism is the Fed coin.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple of advantages that the Feds would have over a community when it comes to issuing. So, like, the federal government wouldn't be limited to these weird prime whatever have yous, because they could just simply start at serial number 1 and go to infinity, because what they would have is an issuing authority that would say, okay, I have issued this Fed script to this person, and because they would also be their own blockchain, they would basically use the same technology or something similar, but they would have, $1 trillion in circulation or $1 trillion Fed script in circulation.
Yeah.
And they would just use the same technology to figure out who owns which of the Fed script. And it would be great for tracing money laundering like they've been doing with the other bit currencies.
My question with, that's the thing with Bitcoin is initially it was used, I think it's still probably used on the dark web because everyone thought it can't be traced. Well, now they're finding out, oh, it's traceable.
Its very nature makes it traceable because every transaction is in the blockchain. You can hide behind 8 proxies, but if the feds know you had your hands in that cookie jar, it's real easy to see everything you bought and sold. Or even just you may not know who the entity is, but you certainly know where the money came from and where it's going to, and establish the patterns.
The issue that I have with the Fed coin, I'm calling it just to make things easy, is it's really no different than our normal fiat money, which is based on what the Federal Reserve wants. We want to put out more money, we print more money. We want to bring in money, we raise interest, we bring it in. There's nothing backing it. So that's...
Well, no. It's not that there's nothing backing it. It's just feel goods backing it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the faith and credit of the American people.
Right, the faith and credit. Well, doesn't take much to ruin the faith and credit of a country, or for somebody to get into the Fed as the chairman of the Fed, or the administration that that says, hey, we want to flood the market. And
wouldn't that somewhat be walking into the patterns of what China's doing with their social credit system, like your social score, in a sense?
Well, that's a different creature. That's not.
Yeah,
you can't buy and sell with your social currency. That's more like our credit score, which is actually.
Oh no, I'm just asking. I'm just asking the question. I know that's all I'm asking is because I saw it, was curious. I was like,
what I'm saying
hand
is
in hand in some way, shape, or form.
More like kind of like Venezuela or the Weimar Republic or Zimbabwe that ruined their economy because they printed so much money.
And to take the opposite approach, then you also have the Hoover administration, who also ruined our economy by not having enough money in circulation because they were stuck on the gold standard.
I think we should go back to the gold standard.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I don't know how much serious economics you guys want to get into, and I don't want to pretend to be an economist, but there are many arguments to be made for why a fiat currency is needed in a world that has many, many millions and billions more people than what a gold standard was designed to accomplish. Because a gold standard, there's only so much gold, which means that the value of gold, your economic... Okay, so money is not worth anything in anybody's pocket.
No,
correct.
No, it's
money
not even worth the paper that is printed on.
And gold is not worth anything in a bank vault. Currency is not worth anything in inventory. What makes economies work is the exchange of money, the exchange of goods, the exchange of goodwill.
Right, right. It comes down to the agreement of I give you this, you give me that. We can, if the the world basically went into the Walking Dead land tomorrow and the money means nothing, then what's going to basically become money, in my opinion, is going to basically be like people's vices, alcohol, cigarettes,
Barter system.
Look at what's valuable in prisons, stuff like that.
So how much of a history of currency do you guys have under your belts?
Well, I mean, I've taken economics classes. I read up on it.
So what do you
I've
think?
got like the basics.
So what do you think the first currency actually was?
I want to say, if I remember correctly, it was in the Middle East. I want to say like 800 BC or something like that.
Go back.
So I don't remember the year, but I know it was.
So exchanging goods on a handshake and a wink, it goes back to the origin of writing on clay tablets. And in fact, actually, the clay tablets were a shortcut. They used to exchange little clay figurines, just simply because carrying an assload of wheat everywhere you went, or a shekel of silver everywhere you went, was a bit much. And so they're like, okay, I know you're good for it. I can see the
certain places use clams, certain places, yeah. I mean, it's a representation,
right? So
of what you're going to do.
So this conceptual representation as a means of facilitating economic transaction predates writing. And that's all a dollar is a representation that we all agree on. And all gold does is limit how much of that is in circulation, which works great for the nobility. It works great for the rich, but it really sucks if you do not have enough little gold dust bits in circulation for people to buy milk or eggs or hire a babysitter. And that's why fiat currencies came about.
Well, but again, when you're talking about fiat currencies, it can go the other way. And it has gone the other way, where inflation has, I mean, look at right now, our inflation is already at, 7.5% in the last year? So when you're talking about taking a cryptocurrency where I agree with you, whether it's Bitcoin or me and you come up with some other cryptocurrency or some other form of currency between us that people agree on and say, this is what we're agreeing on, and I'm going to exchange it with you, or a fiat currency where the people at the top of government can say, hey, we're going to print, or in this case, digitally print, which is basically what they've been doing anyway, because most of our currency in the United States isn't even tangible. Most of it's digital anyway. So adding a cryptocurrency to our digital currency anyway doesn't make sense to me. But by doing that, you're not changing the system. Where Bitcoin and that changed the system was that if I wanted to give Ryan money, I have to send Ryan money. I can either drive down to his house and give him cash, which again is fiat, or I take it through my bank in some form of it or another, either through my debit card, my credit card or something, wire it to him. It goes into his bank. Through his bank, it goes through and gets into his account. And having a Fed coin is just that same process.
Well, it's like sending him something over PayPal, only not having to use your credit card or PayPal.
Right. But but with when it comes to Bitcoin or another type of cryptocurrency, use these the truckers in Canada as an example, when the banks froze the assets of the people that were involved. In fact, they froze the banks of a person that donated $50. There's a story of a woman that got her bank frozen.
But I remember that also getting walked back like immediately.
Yeah,
No.
a
There
lot
was
of
more
it.
to that story.
That
Yeah.
one didn't. That one didn't get walked back for a while.
The
If it
lady
did
with
at
the
all,
50
I
probably
haven't heard of-
didn't, but the truckers got walked back the same day. The judge came out and said no, that they can't do that.
But the
So
fact that they did it,
the lady may have fallen through the crack, so she probably didn't get it right away, but she would eventually have gotten her money back.
right away, not that money. Her bank was frozen.
Oh,
Her bank account was frozen. She wasn't able to buy groceries.
yeah. Then that's just
And that's
an
the
error.
problem. And that's where Bitcoin and other type of cryptocurrency comes in. Because if I want to donate to a cause, I can say, yeah, I'm donating directly to your cause. I don't have to go through my bank and have them say, oh, we're freezing this account or we're doing this. I can say I'm giving you, even though I can't drive down and hand you,
Yeah.
money, physical money or physical gold or physical something, I can still send it to you digitally. Now, when you get the Fed coin in there, you're still playing with the same people as you would be if you were to send it over PayPal or over just a wire transfer. So I don't see the reason in having that, because it's the same manipulation of a fiat currency controlled by the government, by the Fed, and still having the same hurdles that you would have with any other type of electronic transaction.
Well, what I'm seeing is that they're probably trying to create a way for people who couldn't otherwise get a credit card to participate in the digital marketplace. Because right now, there's a very large population of people who do not have a bank account, who do not have a credit card, and have no way of ordering things online. And if anything this pandemic has shown, it's really nice to be able to grab stuff on Amazon. And
But how would this do that, though?
Well, simple. Because it's a federal program run by the federal banks. If you have real American dollars, you can take your real American dollars to, say, the post office and charge up your Fed script or whatever it is. And
but you can go down to Walmart with cash and get prepaid
yes, but there's
bank accounts.
fees on that. And you still have the problem of it's not the federal government guaranteeing that, it's the banks. And also, how many Walmarts are in Harlem? How many Walmarts are in
Walmarts
Detroit?
are everywhere.
No, they're not in the big cities. The problem is,
I don't know. I've been to Detroit. There's a lot of Walmarts
in downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe but
There's-
definitely not in downtown New York.
Got one and I got one on South Harlem.
Okay.
There's
I
dollar
stand
stores.
corrected.
My 10-year-old son goes down to the dollar store, Dollar General, and gets prepaid Visa cards.
But yet it's outside the New York City grid due to they're trying to stay away from all the small stores. So it is in Harlem, but it's outside New York City's grid.
And
So-
can you take the subway there?
Probably not.
So again, I'm talking about if you live in an urban center, big box stores are usually not a thing unless you own a car. And again, I'm talking about people who you don't even make enough to hold a bank account or have a credit card. So that's where I think they're going with it, is a kind of like right now you can get mail orders and money orders at the post office. This is just kind of like, okay, we'll be able to offer the digital equivalent of a money order. And it's backed by the feds, so
I don't think it's I don't think it's needed. I think it's got the same problems, especially being backed by the feds. I don't trust the Fed. I don't. I think the Fed is manipulated too much. They're manipulating our economy too much. They're right now they're looking at raising interest rates because they thought, inflation was only going to be transitory for a couple months, and they were wrong. So them having more stuff that they can print, I don't see that as a good thing.
This week was when they first announced that we were going to go on 2 weeks to stop this to change to hold the spread.
Stop
2
the
years
spread.
later. Yeah. So I mean,
I also want to point out. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, to complain that the Fed is raising interest rates at the same time we are complaining about inflation is like complaining about how I got wet because the fire department had to spray me with a hose because I was on fire. That's how the Fed manipulates, but that's their break for inflation is to raise interest rates and slow down the rate at which money's churning. That's exactly the circuit breaker that they're using.
to pull money back into them and basically destroy it and get it out of circulation.
Basically.
That's what it is. And we're going to see unemployment skyrocket if they go through with it. I mean, they've said they will. They haven't done it yet.
Might. Yeah.
But the thing is I think, just having another vehicle for them, they don't need another vehicle. I'd much rather see more cryptocurrencies. I'd much rather see more ways of getting around the Fed than actually depend on the Fed.
That's your
yeah
right and opinion. Heaven help us. This is a free country, and I don't agree with you, but I back you 100% on what you feel.
I'm waiting for Ryan to say something, and Ryan's like looking down like he's falling asleep.
No. I was reading. Something came up on my phone. I was reading. My apologies.
Right.
I wasn't falling asleep. I was just reading.
Yeah. Now, for my part, I view that it's the government's job to come in and perform vital services that the industry either has a natural monopoly on or has no interest in economically running. So things like currency are very terrible if you don't have somebody with at least, the cachet of the federal government operating, or central government, or whatever government. I mean, we had a point in our history where all 13 states printed their own currencies, and
oh god,
it was so terrible they all came back together again and decided, let's make a strong federal government. This was this was the same guys who rebelled against England. They had so much fun doing their own thing that they made the Constitution almost immediately after founding the country.
But they did it so it wasn't just like one hierarchy. I mean, they did it with the checks and balances system, that makes, the constitutional republic of our country so much different than the traditional monarchs and traditional democratic countries. It makes it to where a lot of people want to see it succeed, but a lot of people are like, well, let's see how this goes now. The fact that the United States is marked, and that this is where it's going to be weird, has made it past the 245 years. Because every great empire usually crumbles by 245. Look at Rome. Look at Great Britain. Look at some of the other ones in the Middle East. Look at Egypt. Usually they make it around the 245 and they crumble. The fact that the United States is still here and we're still trying to still make it work and not change and adapting a new program has to say something that somewhere that we're trying to make it work.
Well, I would actually say that it's not the problem. The genius is not that the United States has remained unchanged in 245 years. It's that we have this idea that, oh, this didn't work, let's throw it out. And instead of having to stage a bloody revolution, we have either an election or a constitutional convention to fix the problem.
No, and I agree with that. The whole point of the Constitution isn't that, and it was never meant to stay exactly how it was. And I think it was Hamilton that said that the Constitution was written so that it can be amended and changed as faults are being found. There's certain parts I don't think that should be changed, but obviously everyone in grade school learns about the Bill of Rights. That was the first change that was made to it. And that was what, 10 years later? Less than that, I think.
It was written at the same time.
Written on Capitol Hill.
I thought it was I thought it was a couple years. I thought it was later.
No. It's just the process of passing it and going through the motions. But the Bill of Rights was written at the same time as the Constitution. The idea is that they didn't know if everything they had baked into the Bill of Rights was going to be like canon. So they're like, okay, let's just make those the first addendums so that if we need to tweak it later, like, back then owning somebody was a thing. We don't have that anymore. That was an addition.
I mean, you're
right. And that was a change to the Constitution. Yeah. So it doesn't stay exactly where I think
kind of added on.
But what I think where I think Ryan was trying to say is that it's because of the way that our Constitution was written, you can't just have somebody at the top saying, okay, I'm going to throw everything out and we're doing it my way now.
Agreed.
That was the fear everyone had of Trump, and it didn't happen. That's the fear everyone has of Biden right now. And thankfully, for a lot of it, it's not happening because he's getting challenged and losing in court. So,
I mean, speaking of that, how about we move on to Biden's policy tracker, promise tracker that Political Fact just put out a few days ago. That was funny to see, just to see what all that he has promised to work on. So far, he's nominated the first black woman for the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay.
Because, I always make sure I choose my employees based on skin color.
I wish he had just said, I want to nominate a woman for the Supreme Court. And then done his own focus.
I'm just going to nominate who I think is the best, and he could have still picked the same person, but...
Yeah. Not make
just like he was going to nominate the first black woman for vice president. Like he announced that before he even picked Kamala.
Yeah. He established a new fuel economic standard. Worked with allies to develop secure private sector and 5G networks that seem to, on the speculation of roasting people, I guess.
I would have to look up what that even means. Worked with allies.
Yeah, I mean,
so the idea with that is it's almost like the rural electrification project with Roosevelt.
I think they're trying to expand
5G,
into
out to the sticks.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they got it out in northern Michigan some more. That would be
actually
nice.
5G would be terrible out in the sticks because it's designed for concentrated population centers, and it has no range. That's the joke. You need 3.
And the thing is, what we have where I'm at, because I have 5G at my house, and it's slow 5G. It's faster than what I had, but it's basically like 4G, but a little bit faster. But it's not like when I go into Detroit or Chicago, where it's true 5G, but they're all narrow band 5G. What we have is wideband 5G, where it spreads it out more. So you're not getting, because it's a wider band and not as narrow of a band, you're not getting as fast handshakes back and forth. I'm trying to say it so that like people listening that don't understand radio waves.
What people need to remember is that the reason why 5G is a thing is, do you remember we used to have analog television?
Oh, yes.
So those giant bandwaves with giant channels that only were good for short range, well, they kind of horked them all up and sold them for a song to the telecom companies. And so I was
working in television when they did that. I remember those sales. Yeah.
So next on his list is direct federal resources to prevent violence against transgender women, to use the Defense Production Act to produce more PPE, resume ties with the Palestinian Authority. Yeah, Palestinian Authority.
Oh, I'm looking at the same list.
I don't know. I clicked right on. If you click on the promise, the 17.
I'm going down. It's like it's a bunch of squares.
Yeah, that's what I got. I'm looking at Safari. So
in my view, the Palestinian Authority are terrorists, and we shouldn't have ties with them at all. But that's me.
Well, the Palestinian Authority is the local government in Palestine. Yes, there are a few members of the PLO that have been elected, but that's like saying the federal government is the same as the Oath Keepers.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is the Palestinian authorities are the ones that, I mean, to put it bluntly, you can be Palestinian and live in Israel and be perfectly fine, but if you're Jewish and live in Palestine, you're getting arrested.
I don't think you're quite savvy with Israeli politics, because
you might
it
kind of
sucks to be a non-Jewish resident of Israel, especially if you've got relatives outside of Israel.
How many people live in Israel that are not Jewish, would you say?
A good many of them, actually, because they were kind of there at the beginning.
So how many Jewish do you think live in Palestine?
Quite a few, because they keep moving in.
So roughly 25% Palestinians live in Israel, in Israel-controlled area. Less than 2% of Jewish and Christian live in Palestine.
Okay.
I am not familiar with the population demographics.
I read up. I follow that area.
Right.
I completely agree with Israel. I think what they're doing is amazing over in that area, and what they have to deal with coming from the bombings and the attacks from the surrounding nations, especially the Palestinians. Yeah.
All right. Now we got increased COVID-19 testing, which I would say that would be helpful with the warp speed effect from the previous administration. We have the rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement, which I honestly think that is a terrible idea.
It's a nothing agreement.
Created a bipartisan commission to consider reforming the Supreme Court. That needs to be left alone. It should stay at 9 and left alone at 9.
I think 9 is a good number. Leave it there. No reason to change it. The one thing that I think a small minority of Republicans will agree with is having term limits for the judges. But I also remember in some of my law classes that the main reason that they don't have term limits, that they have lifetime limits, is so that there is no political influence whatsoever on the judges once they're in office. I doubt that's the case. I'm sure they all have political influences, but
Oh yeah,
that's the whole
they're
point of having
supposed
them.
to be biased. Everything is supposed to be biased. I mean, yes, but who knows
Well,
from person to person?
from my perspective, all this talk about the traditions, this has always worked, goes out the window when you have the president pro tempore of the Senate who refuses to even hold hearings for a president to be able to nominate a Supreme Court justice for damn near a year at the end of his term.
Well, they were going to vote it down anyway.
Vote up or down, that's fine, but not to hold hearings? That's completely messing with the third branch of government. And fine, if you're going to play those games, make the court 13, because that's the only way we're going to water down the fact that Trump pushed through 3 candidates?
That was
in 4 years?
But Trump was able to push through 3 candidates because of the Democrats in 2013
when they eliminated the filibuster for the voting.
And they had to have federal judges. The filibuster because why, everybody? Everything was vetoed. Not vetoed. Filibuster.
Right. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Because the filibuster was misused.
You can't blame
but now
Trump for using a strategy.
You can't blame Trump for using something that the Democrats put in.
How many people did Obama sit in 8 years in office? How many?
I have to look up numbers. I don't remember numbers.
And Trump managed to sit more than that in 4 years. And one of those persons, he managed to flip around and nominate and seat in 6 weeks. When the previous guy, same guy in charge of the Senate, said, "Oh no! In the last whatever, I want the voters to be able to speak." So
it was a dumb argument on the point of what's his name from Kentucky.
Mitch McConnell.
It was a dumb argument on the point of McConnell using that to justify it to the public. In reality, they didn't have the votes to nominate anybody that Obama was going to nominate.
Except that Obama asked, okay, who should I nominate? And McConnell throws out the name, how about Merrick Garland? Thinking that was going to be a no-brainer. Who did Obama nominate?
Well, I'm glad Merrick Garland didn't get in.
It was Garland. And he still didn't get a hearing. Not even a hearing.
So what?
Not so what?
So what?
So the reason why we've got a commission is because you've got the majority of voters of the United States who do not get a say in an entire third of the federal government because of freaking reindeer games played by the Republicans for purely partisan reasons.
Don't forget, the voters also voted in the senators that would have had to approve him. So it's not just that the voters voted for Obama in 2012. They also voted in all them senators in 2012.
This is why I believe term limits should be allowed for senators and for House reps.
Oh, yeah, I do think senators and House should have term limits. But
I don't.
The thing is regardless of what excuses for Garland were used, he didn't have the votes. He wasn't going to make it through. In 2013, the Democrats are the ones that removed the filibuster on federal appointments. Had they kept that in place, because they were so short-sighted, had they kept that in place, then Barrett would have never been able to get pushed through in 6 weeks.
That's exact.
Actually, it was McConnell who eliminated the filibuster
Schumer
on
actually
Supreme
It
Court
was
nominees.
Schumer. It was
It
Schumer.
was
No.
Schumer and
It was
Biden
Schumer.
who actually eliminated.
They
Schumer
did it
took
for
off
all
for
federal judges.
May I finish? Schumer took it off for federal judges because at that point, nobody was getting a hearing in 7 years that Obama was in office. But it was McConnell who removed the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees.
He used their removal of it as a justification that a Supreme Court is a federal judge.
Except that they're not. They're the
They are.
third branch of
But
government.
They're
was
federal
the
judges.
justification that was used. That's the issue.
The Supreme Court is a federal judge. They're the highest federal judge, but they're a federal judge.
That's what they classified them as, and that's what they are technically classified.
So whether they're
Granted,
the lowest federal judge at the district level or the appellate level or the Supreme Court level, they're still a federal judge. So it was the Democrats that did that to themselves.
It's unfortunate, yes, and that's why, and that's where Mitch McConnell took advantage of the situation. Do I think it was right? Not at all, but it was used. It was used the way they needed it to be done. Unfortunately, Biden, was not able to get an appointee where he should have had the appointee because they allowed the wait for Trump to make his first appointee based on the election. In the fact that Senate did not have the votes on the Democratic side even if Biden or if Obama had actually pushed through one, they would have never had the votes. It just happened to be that way in the end. When Trump was coming to the end of his term, yes, he was given the ability to elect somebody else because the votes were in the Senate still before the new election had been finalized. They were able to push it through. That is all what happened. And
timing is all it was.
I want to make
it was all bad
here.
timing.
I want to make a distinction that you do not vote for Supreme Court justices.
No, but
the
vote
president,
for the senators.
May I finish? The Constitution says that the president nominates a Supreme Court justice and the Senate approves. That's
which is
different.
Approved by a vote.
It's approved by a vote, but it's not like a piece of legislation.
No.
It's
No,
a
but it's
process
approved by
and
a
usually a
vote.
rubber stamp and has been throughout history.
But that's how it happened. The Senate had the votes on the Republican side. They didn't need any Democratic vote to approve Amy Coney Barrett. That is what happened.
Now, you see, the way it used to work is that, we've got a Republican in office and we've got Democrats running the Senate. It was never that the Republican would not be able to have somebody nominated for the Supreme Court. It's just that they would probably have to bring somebody in who's a little more left-leaning, but still conservative, than they would have otherwise. Now, it's if your guy isn't in office and your party isn't in charge of the Senate, we're just not going to have a federal government this week.
And this is
but that's what Obama did with his judicial
Obama
appointments.
didn't do anything. This was
Yes, he
this
did.
Has
He
been,
put in 2 judicial appointments, and they were both completely left-leaning. Before
you
the
realize that
Republicans took over,
left-leaning in this country means
they're so far left that they actually thought that people should be getting shots in order to work because the federal government thinks that it's appropriate. Thinks that because it's an emergency.
Do you realize that getting vaccinated has been a thing in the whole 20th century?
But this isn't a vaccine. A vaccine protects other people. This doesn't protect other people. And nor has it ever been.
I know we're down a rabbit hole. I was talking about the fact that the federal government is being basically emasculated on partisan grounds.
they're being petty on partisan grounds.
No, emasculated. People
This
are
is-
physically interrupting the regular operations of government to make a political point, and they've never stopped, even after they've won.
Correct. No, I'll agree with you there. I'll agree with you there. That simply does happen all the time, and you see it if you ever watch them speak during the afternoon. Which I want to. Chuck Schumer's face just I don't. Oh my God, Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer need to go away.
Amen.
Yeah.
This is why I say about term limits. No, I'm not saying like 4-year term limits. I'm saying 2 8-year term limits for like the House and like 3 8-year term limits for the Senate. Something like that. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
I don't like these people that are there for 40, 50 years.
That the Pelosi's, the Schumer, the Connell, they've bought their way into their seats, not just earning them by the people.
No, they didn't buy them, and that's where I'm going to get into where my real concern is. It's not that somebody holds a seat for 40 years, because what you run into is as soon as you put in term limits, look at every state government that says, "Oh, we're going to put in term limits for like governors." What you end up with is the only people that end up being elected governor are essentially hand puppets for their respective parties, or more importantly, the people that fund those parties. So the office of governor in Virginia is a fucking joke, because the guy is only in there for 4 years. He really can't do anything realistic. He gets in. He's a rubber stamp on things, and pretty much you can hear the hand up his ass with whatever the policy is by who was funding the campaign to get him elected.
Yeah, but aren't we getting that with the people that have been there for 40, 50 years and have somehow amassed millions of dollars by working for the government their entire life, their entire adulthood? Pelosi, McConnell, all of them,
all the insider trading.
Yeah, they're all getting.
Let's bring it in and agree that there is no way that somebody should be becoming a millionaire representing the interests of the people. I want to say that unequivocally.
We've already had this conversation before. I
agree with you.
FDR said it best. He said no member of government should be making money while serving the people.
No.
It should be like a vow of poverty. If I was put in charge, it would be yes, you get your check from the government and expenses reimbursed. And if you take a slick nickel from anyone else, or your spouse takes a slick nickel from anybody else, that's a crime.
Technically, what was it? It was before Kennedy. Senators and House representatives were technically part-time, and they actually had to have a full-time job outside of public service. That's what it needs to go back to.
I'd have to go back and read the Federalist Papers, because I can't remember who said it, but one of the writers of the Constitution said that the point of hold on, it's up here. My son's phone.
It's all right.
He's calling his phone trying to find it. Said that the point of the Congress having to basically get voted in every 2 years, 4 years, whatever. I don't know if that's what it was back then. I'd have to look what it originally was.
It's been 2 years since the beginning.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
But the point was that they didn't stay in Washington. Or not Washington. They didn't stay in government. They had to go back and they had to deal with the consequences of their decisions and deal with the people that they affected. With people that basically stay and get reelected every year. There was a statistic I saw that once you get elected to a position in the federal government, you're like 6 times more likely to get reelected
Well,
than
one problem.
somebody.
Yeah, one problem. Now, we agree that there's a problem. We're working together to find the right solution. I just want to say that I
Yeah.
listen to you guys. I don't think everything is rosy. One of the problems we have is that we have locked the number of representatives in at 1940s population levels. And we have not adjusted it ever since, despite the fact that the population has tripled. And
That's true.
most of the shenanigans we see are because it is not some guy who's running in a district with 40,000 people in it, where you can actually plausibly go into your district and know all the people and know all the population centers and actually interact and get letters and have somebody come to you saying, hey, I need somebody to recommend my kid for the Naval Academy or something. That doesn't happen in this day and age because one representative in New York might have 1.5 million representatives, not 40,000 like in the 19th century.
And like, Andrea AOC. If I try saying her name, I always butcher it. Andrea
Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you. She is kind of an anomaly in that in New York, she beat an incumbent, a longtime incumbent in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she just got polled as one of the most useless congresspeople in the House.
And it's mostly because the difference between somebody who can be elected versus somebody who can actually do the people's bidding in the House is not a Venn diagram that overlaps by very much.
Right. You have to remember with the House, there's a reason they call it, what is it, the upper chamber and the lower chamber, or the upper...
Yeah.
The reason they call it the lower chamber is because, and the reason that every time my wife comes to me and says, can you believe this passed the House? And I'm like, yeah. Because they pass things. It's a majority. It's a simple majority to pass things. So it's whichever side is in charge, they're going to pass anything and everything. Doesn't mean it's going to become law. I'd say probably 90% of the stuff doesn't, because each person in there has such a small role outside of, you have like the whip and you have the head of the, whatever. But almost everybody there is just, I come to work and I sit on my committee and
what gets you reelected is the fact that, I voted for that. And you can go back to your voters and say, hey, I'm doing this stuff. Yeah, it didn't get passed, but I'm doing my job here.
Right, exactly. So, that's the thing.
Switch back to us because that's way more entertaining than the slide we've got up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let me just go ahead and get that off.
I'm just a bill, and shit, I'm back on.
Yeah, right.
Even that now doesn't work anymore. Have you looked at that?
God.
I watched that on YouTube because I homeschool. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show my son, because we were talking about government. And I'm like, I'll show him this. I remember this when I was little. And I'm like, okay, so that might have been the idea.
Yeah, that was the planned idea. Just
That's not how it really works.
Let's go by K Street real quick. Oh, God.
But I forgot where I was going now.
Sorry.
Shit. I had an ADHD moment. I was going somewhere and I forgot. But
do you ever think of a career in folk singing? Because, man, this is like you're channeling like Arlo Guthrie right now.
What the hell was I saying?
That it started off as, that's the ideal, but we are so far from the ideal that it can't be recognized. And
Right,
people are
and
falling
that's
back on it's tradition. Never mind that we have so subverted the tradition that we're screwing the bride on the day of. It's like,
well,
come on.
and the thing is it goes back. I can only really speak in my lifetime because everything else I just kind of read about, obviously. But, you know, we're talking going back to the 90s. Bill Clinton, for everything bad that people don't like him for, the one thing that worked for him was that he recognized when the red wave came into Congress in 96, I believe it was.
Yeah.
That he needed to move more to the center.
I have to kind of. Bill Clinton was always a Republican in Democrats' clothing. He was from Arkansas. It is a red state. He has.
I think Clinton was the red side, Hillary was the blue side.
No, they're both the red side. It's just Hillary was the old money red side, who was voting Democratic because it's just. You have to remember that the parties kind of exactly switched sides in the 40s.
They didn't switch sides.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that theory.
They switched locations. So
I think
the whole party switch has
been disproven as more money went down south.
But the Rodhams, Hillary, that's a Republican family.
And I understand that.
It's an old money Republican family. So, her marrying Bill, it was mostly because she was marrying a poor guy, not that he was not a Republican. And at that point in time, you'd had 8 years of Reaganomics.
That got a Hummer under the desk at the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Well, personally, my personal view on that is, so what?
I mean, can you imagine?
I remember my dad being up in arms because he was a ditto head and listened to Rush and everything Rush screamed. But even me, I'm like, but the thing is so then when we got into Bush Jr., that's where I think the tone, because the conservatives, I'm not the same type of conservative as my father is. And I think conservatives were, during Bush, from what I saw of a lot of conservatives, they were squishy conservatives. Especially once, because Bush was a squishy conservative. I know everybody makes him out to be Hitler, or made him out to be Hitler, but he was a squishy conservative. And he was always trying to, it was always I'm going to make a deal. I'm not going to say anything bad about other Republicans, or I'm not going to say anything bad about this person because it might make me look bad. Now, a lot of the Democrats at that time, what I remember seeing, was that they were moving further and further to the attack dog, less of the, kind of blue dog Democrats. I'm pro-gun, I'm pro this, but I'm a Democrat. It was more toward, and we could kind of come together. It was more us versus them because they were against Bush, which then drove, especially in the 2008 elections, when, help me out, what was his name that went against Obama?
Romney?
McCain.
No.
McCain and Romney were both trying to play the old Bush-style Republican talking points and got shellacked because Obama and the other Democrats were coming out and attacking. They were Romney themselves. They said that actually it was Biden that said Romney was going to put black people back in chains. And
Remember that.
oh yeah, that was during the 2012 elections. I'm sure Ryan can look it up and find it.
See,
You know, and they even had the commercial of Romney and his vice president running mate pushing Granny off a cliff. They had that. They had, you know, so as they were doing that, a lot of conservatives like myself are going, you know what? I'm not standing behind these squishy Republicans. I want a Republican that's going to punch back. And I want a Republican that's going to punch you harder and is going to knock you out. You punch me, you come after me, I'm going to go after you. That's how we got Trump.
My memory of the same era, and speaking as, you know, like, it's less Democrat and more, I'm a socialist, but you're not allowed to be that in this country, so I guess that's the closest they can be.
You can now.
Anyway, so what I'm remembering from that era is the reason why the Republicans kept losing is because the Democrats kept running basically Republican light. So, you know, it was really hard to argue on substance with, say, Obama, because if Obama had been running in the 90s, he would have had an R next to his name for all the policies. I mean, look at Obamacare. It's essentially a Republican plan put together by the Heritage Foundation, letter by letter, as what we should do instead of having an actual healthcare system in our country. So go back to Hillary Care and the scare there. The Republicans put together a plan which was going to be, well, here's how the market should do it. And if you go line by line through what all of those things should have been, what the Republicans put forward as this is the way the market should do it, is exactly what passed as the Affordable Care Act 10 years later. So
I don't remember. I'm a member of the Heritage Foundation, and I don't remember them saying, was that like, are we talking 90s, 80s?
90s, like 96 era.
Oh man, I'd have to go back and look to see, because I don't know anything about them putting. It doesn't even sound like something they would say.
It's not what they said. It's actually what they put together as draft legislation. So throw away the talking points and just go with what they wanted as policy. And what we've been seeing is that with conservatives, it's not that they stand for policy so much, it's that they just want to be outraged about something. And that's what the defining feature of conservatism
I don't know. I mean,
seems to be.
I mean, the leftists and the socialist Marxists like to be outraged. I mean, look at 2020 and with all of BLM. I mean, they burnt down cities for just a show of force for what?
Which
and they literally assaulted people for.
There's a state, Minnesota.
Well,
look what happened in Washington State.
Portions of Portland.
A block in Portland outside of a federal court.
It was
that
still
was
attacked on a nightly basis
there
for
was
months.
More than that.
There were attacks going back and forth.
Kenosha.
Yeah,
Kenosha was on fire. There's
a really funny CNN clip where
and there's a big firebomb going off in the back of it.
That was funny. He's like, yeah, it's mostly peaceful here as a big flame comes out from a bomb going off.
I mean, and they burnt down small businesses, which they're sitting there.
And a lot of it wasn't even based. Well, and it goes back before that. 2014, they did the same thing in Missouri, and with the hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah.
They had the riots out there, but the one that makes me really mad is Breonna Taylor, because they were assaulting people in Washington, D.C. They were assaulting people over that, and the whole thing was a lie. It was all fabricated.
What happened to
Wait,
Breonna Taylor
what about
is
Breonna
very...
Taylor was a lie? She was shot in her own apartment doing
Yeah.
nothing.
Hang on.
Well, she was standing
So
next
full
to the
story
guy
of
that
Breonna
shot him.
Taylor,
No, she was in bed. She was shot.
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. She
Hang
wasn't.
on.
That's the lie.
Since we brought it up, so the whole story of Breonna Taylor, the cops came with a no-knock warrant looking for an ex-boyfriend of Breonna Taylor's that registered that address. They were coming to look. Her current boyfriend did not realize the cops came in and decided just to open fire instead of saying anything. It was, he shot first, they shot first, second. That's what happened. What happened sucks. It was a shitty mess.
But Ryan, details matter too.
Yes.
Yes, and the
had a no-knock warrant.
Deflection means we're not talking about the Second Amendment, and thus we're on the police's side.
That
I'm
doesn't matter.
Situation
I'm not talking
general.
about the Second Amendment here. What I'm talking about is that the one of the lies is that she was sleeping in bed when she was shot. She wasn't. She was in the hallway standing next to her boyfriend, who shot first at the police officers. They had a warrant that they didn't have to knock and announce themselves. They did knock and announce themselves. That's what woke them up, and how they ended up in the hallway when he shot. When they entered, they shot back.
I don't understand how the fact that she was in a hallway versus in a bed versus she's in her house. Hold on. She's in her house. A bunch of very loud people are coming in with guns for a reason that you can't understand. And she didn't have the gun. So how is she the person
she was standing
shot?
Next to the person with the
where
gun?
She was standing. It was, unfortunately, Breonna Taylor was collateral damage, and I don't want to sound...
That's why the only person...
Unfortunate situation.
It is
the
very
only
unfortunate
person
situation.
that got indicted for that was one officer who had stray bullets, and it wasn't even for Breonna Taylor. It was because it went through the wall and came close to hitting somebody in another apartment.
Yeah, so
people were outraged about that.
I would be outraged if people were shooting people in their own homes for basically
after being shot first.
The cops shot second.
Yeah, the cops shot second.
The cops shot second. The first bullets actually came from.
I would be shooting at them too if somebody was shooting at me. I've done entries, and if somebody shoots at me, I'm shooting back.
Yes, but we also have the castle doctrine, where if somebody's breaking into your house, come on, you're conservatives, Second Amendment nuts. This is okay. Somebody's coming in. I've got a gun. I'm going to answer to somebody breaking into my house.
I understand. No, I'm not disputing what you're saying. They did announce, even though they didn't have to. If they had came out
in
the whole if scenario, if they came out unarmed, no one would have been shot. The only time bullets even were fired by the officers was due to bullets being fired at them.
Because one officer did get shot first.
I'm not saying that anybody's reaction in this whole thing was appropriate.
Okay, but the whole
what
point
I'm saying
of
is that what the hell were cops showing up, guns loaded on a tip?
It wasn't a tip. They had a warrant.
They had a warrant.
Never mind a warrant. Never mind a tip. What required a SWAT team?
Because it was a warrant.
Because of her ex-boyfriend's name, he was an ex-convict, and he was already labeled and in
Yeah,
such a way they needed a SWAT
every
team.
time I've done a forced entry on a warrant, you enter with firearms.
No, I agree that there are situations that require an armed team, unannounced. But
and in my thought,
was,
it probably would have been safer if they hadn't announced and woken them up first.
Or
they might have been able to surprise them.
Here's a weird thought. At least make sure that that person is in the building and has been reported as being in that building in the last 24 hours.
But that's not how a warrant works.
I know it's not how it works, but
they were going off information that they had.
Which basically means that every person in America should be quaking in our boots, because all we need is one shitty report to be looking at the
that was after,
because somebody thought that my ex-girlfriend lived here.
No, it wasn't one report. It wasn't one tip. You look at the police records and what was said in pretrial. They had months of documentation that she was receiving packages there, that ex-boyfriend was staying there, that he wasn't there that night, but he was staying there.
At a time. So by the time the no-knock warrant was finally issued, the ex-boyfriend actually had vacated. That piece of information was never known until after the fact, and that is the unfortunate situation.
But you have people getting assaulted from gangs of people, of rioters, over this. You have people that are trying to have dinner, and hordes of people are running up to them yelling, "Say her name," and pushing them down and assaulting them while they're trying to have dinner. There's videos of that.
Well, I'm not trying to excuse poor behavior, but we, just like we can kind of acknowledge that mistakes were made on the entering and mistakes were made on the, I'm going to take a shot at cops. You have to understand that if you believe that you are in danger in your own home, because all it takes is one misfiled report and you're looking down an armed squad showing up heaven knows when in the dead of the night, and you don't know if you are going to be the next whatever it is, that's freaking scary. That's terrifying. That is something that people, if they really felt genuinely threatened, and there's nothing for us to be able to tell these people that they aren't genuinely threatened, what's your answer? That we just shut up and take it?
Well, my issue is with the reporting of it. That had they put out the actual facts, rather than putting out misinformation on it. They did the same thing in Kenosha with the Jacob Blake. They put out misinformation on that caused the riots in Kenosha.
Which ended up with Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse, whether you believe he should have been there or not, is regardless. If the media had put out the correct facts, or even held off until the facts came out before putting that out, that's my thing is, people are so quick to jump on, oh, this is my side. It's not a conservative side.
I hear you on that.
The Democrats do that just as much.
People do that.
People do it. I will agree with people.
It's an us versus them mentality. I have this mentality because I was in college and I had to pretend I wasn't conservative to make it through college without getting failed out of classes.
And as a member of law enforcement, you have a very different knowledge, understanding, emotional frame for all of these situations. You are looking at it as, I am a police officer trying to protect the public, and these are the steps that I would take. And I'm trying to look at it as, I'm just kind of sitting in my bed and a door gets knocked over and I'm worried about, am I going to get shot in my bed? Which is two different things, different sets of facts. It's terrifying that they would even come into conflict with one another. But we live in a really messy world, I think, is what we can conclude.
Yeah. And, you know, and the hard part is, and this goes back to, you know, people in our, because you have to remember, our government is a reflection of us as a whole. The reason they're fighting and name calling and doing all of this is because we're doing it. And they know that if they don't do it, I will not vote for a squishy Republican. So if I live in a Democrat area, so I won't get a Republican in office anyway. But if there was one that I could vote for and they were squishy, I would vote for their, you know, somebody else that's going up against them in the primary that sounds tougher.
Sorry, I live in Virginia. I'm going to get a Republican, regardless of what the letter is next to their freaking title.
I live in Pennsylvania. I'm going to get a Democrat.
Yeah. Where I live, I live in you know, basically Uniontown. I mean, I live in, everybody's in the Union, so we don't have Republicans around us, but, or at least that I can vote for. Now, if I moved, you know, 10 miles away, I do. But, and then I lived in Oregon. There's no Republicans in Oregon. So, but, the thing is, so you have the Democrats in office that are moving more vocally left towards like AOC type of stuff. Even Joe Biden, everyone, when he was running, people were saying, oh, he's a moderate, he's a centralist. Joe Biden is basically a wave. He's a surfer that rides whatever wave he thinks.
He's a Jeff Dunham puppet. I swear to God, it's Walter in life-size form.
But he rides whatever wave he thinks.
Can I just interrupt to agree with that guy?
He does look like Walter, though, I will say.
Well, no, and he is what, it's not even like, you can't even call it like a centralist. He's a surfer. And a lot of the politicians are surfers. They have the spine and the fortitude of an invertebrate.
Right.
And that the reason why they have to be that is because, now this gets back, I'm circling back to where I started with the districts are too damn big. The only way that somebody could get elected in a district with millions of people in it is if they are everything to everybody, which means that they're nothing to anybody.
Right. Yeah.
It's only if we increase the number of representatives and shrink the sizes of the districts that we're going to get anything resembling a sane representative government where you can feel like you're listened to, and I can feel like I'm listened to, and we can believe that the guy we're electing is either going to do what we want or we're going to boot his ass out. I'm with you, man. And we don't agree on what the policies are, but we agree that there needs to be a better system.
Well, think of it this way. We just got redistricted in Michigan. And my previous district, my community, when I talk about the Republicans or something, my township, my community, like what's really close to me is conservative. We're out in the country. We're farmers. Okay. But because our district is with the bigger city that's south of us, we don't have any say in anything. Now, they redistricted us. And I thought, when I saw the map from afar, I'm like, ooh, they changed it so we're no longer with Saginaw, and that we're going to be with Alpena and up north, where I can actually vote and get a Republican in. it would be the same Republican that's up there anyway that always gets in, but at least I'd have a say.
You're on the winning team. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on the winning team for once. And then I zoom in and it's like, no, right where my township is, they make this little tiny sliver of a cutout. And I'm going, why? They couldn't just take it straight across. No, it's like straight across, but they had to make this little sliver of a cutout for my township.
Nice.
Dude, I feel you, man. Oh, that just...
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh,
I'm so mad. But...
I'm sure.
And you're mad because you feel like you're not heard.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, and I agree what you're saying. We have everybody, okay, it's an election year, so everybody, left, right, and center, is talking about gerrymandering. The left is gerrymandering. The right in Florida, they're gerrymandering. Michigan's gerrymandering. That's a big, there's a court case right now about the districts. So there's a court case everywhere.
Pennsylvania's going through that whole right now.
Yeah,
with them
everybody
doing it.
So, and it doesn't matter. It's whoever's in charge at the time is going to gerrymander it for their party. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Make the districts smaller. The point, going back to the founding fathers, was that the federal government would have the least amount of power.
We should do it back to the way the founding fathers did it, but with the presidency. Because technically the president choose the vice president. The vice president was the loser.
And the other wrinkle was that the Senate was not directly elected. They were elected by the state government.
Yep. I want to say that was the 40s that we changed that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the government hasn't made sense since.
And I think we should have never changed that. Because the point is that the lower, the House represented the people, the Senate represented the state.
The state.
Instead, we have the Senate representing the people, but on a state level. So, again, you take Michigan. Well, Michigan, during the 2020 election, we had a Democrat governor. We still have a Democrat governor, but we have a Republican Senate and legislator in Michigan. So, thankfully, very little gets done in Michigan. I'm a fan when nothing gets done. So I'm a fan of gridlock. That's why I love filibusters on both sides. I love when nothing gets done. I think, again, the least amount to get done.
I'm more of a loud Sioux guy, where it's kind of weird because, in my ideal, government would be so competent and it would do what it needs to do in such a way that you kind of forget that it's there. But you want the same
that
thing,
would be
but
awesome.
with a different mechanism.
That would be awesome. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
But originally, the point of the federal government was they handle certain big things: national defense, money, interstate commerce.
Don't want to deal with, or if they try to deal with it, they're probably going to start shooting at each other.
Right.
Happened.
And then the states are supposed to have more. I think that's the point of Article 10. Yeah, the 10th Amendment.
Yeah, Article 10.
Yeah. Is that the states have more power than the federal government. And in an ideal world, the counties, townships, whatever, cities have more power than the states. They can enact more laws. That's how you get...
And this was all well and good before the invention of the automobile. The unfortunate fact of the invention of the automobile means that most people can move in a day further than anybody in the 19th or 18th century moved in their lifetime.
That's true. Where we live, it's not uncommon to drive an hour and a half to your job every day. So that's like 70, 80 miles.
Yeah, I mean, most people in the 19th century died 100 miles from where they were born and lived in that entire zone.
Actually, that's
as far
still
as they
true.
ever went.
That's still true. it's a lower or it's a higher majority of people that move away, but it's still what was it? This was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I saw a statistic that like it was over 90%, 90 something, never moved further than 100 miles from where they were born. Which
damn
floors
it, that
me.
is true. Fuck, I don't live that far from where I was born.
Well, I moved all the way
I'm
across
kissing
country
the
and then
edge.
moved back.
I was born in Philly, and now I'm in D.C., so that's what, 90 miles?
I moved
Well,
from Bay
born
City,
in
Michigan.
Maryland, and now I live in PA. Yeah, I'm about right there.
Yeah.
I moved from Bay City, Michigan to Astoria, Oregon, is about as far away as you could get because it was right
you
on
bounced
the
back.
and then bounced right back.
Yeah.
Um,
So what we need to do is take a mob hit on Henry Ford. So if anybody invents a time machine, screw Hitler. If you kill Henry Ford, then the world will make sense.
yeah, but
I
Hitler
don't
wouldn't
know.
have
I mean,
any tanks
you got
then.
the Dodge brothers.
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Oh, but we wouldn't have Kingsford charcoal.
Damn it. But we would have wood fire.
We would. We could still make our own coal. It just wouldn't be charcoal.
Yeah, but you only need charcoal because you need to pack it into your car
Yeah, that's true.
for a Sunday drive. If you're
That's
just
true.
grilling, you don't need charcoal.
I
That's
use
true.
wood. I use an open fire wood.
Oh, okay. So we need to get on that that time machine. So now that we're
Hey,
an hour and
Speaking of
50
time machines,
minutes.
has anybody watched the Adam Project yet?
No, I've been wanting to see that, but I want to watch it with my son.
Oh my god, it is a fantastic movie. Oh, you got to watch it.
Because
Time machines are in this.
because I have a man crush on Ryan Reynolds.
Everybody has a man crush on Ryan Reynolds.
I know. My
Even
wife thinks
Sean
it's
does.
weird. My wife thinks it's weird, and I'm like, I guarantee, yeah, if you poll 1,000 guys, over 900 of us would say we'd go gay for Ryan Reynolds.
I wouldn't go
I would
gay
say all
for
of them
Ryan
would say it.
Reynolds, but
I'd go gay
It's
for
not-
Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, well, there's
I might have a problem with some of the sexual acts, but
I don't know if I get high enough. I don't think it would matter. But it's just Ryan Reynolds.
yeah.
yeah.
It would be like, Ryan, just talk to me. Like, I'd be the woman. I'd be like, you're funny.
Talk
I
dirty
just
to me.
talk to me. If anything that comes out of your mouth, I'm gonna.
What was your first experience with Ryan Reynolds? Mine was 2 men in a pizza place.
2 guys, a girl in a pizza
In
place?
a pizza place, yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I'm drawing a blank.
I have the DVDs. I have because I have the entire series.
I see what he was in.
I bought the DVDs, and because they're not being printed, it was so hard to find. I had to get them on eBay when they were being printed. Oh, but it's so good. It's
I think
so
my
good.
first movie with Ryan Reynolds was Van Wilder.
I think that's most people's introduction to him if they didn't watch 2 Guys and a Girl.
Yeah.
Because that's what it turned into in the 3rd season. They dropped the pizza place.
Yeah.
But no, I need to see that. Okay. We're an hour and a half in. We didn't get to any of our other stories, but we need to wrap things up. So we need to play a game.
Play a
We need
game.
to play a game. Okay. First off.
How about chess? No.
No.
The global thermonuclear war?
Okay.
No.
So for next week,
Tic-tac-toe.
next week,
With
we're
no
going to hold off.
players.
We're going to hold off for next week on Tulsi Gabbard, my girlfriend.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
She's
I
the
told
Democrats' wet dream.
she's my wet dream.
Yeah, but not the same reasons that you're thinking of.
I told
Okay, I
my
won't
wife,
tell Ginger.
always says, who's in your top 3? I'm like, yeah, I'm dropping one of my top 3, and I put Tulsi in there. I would.
Oh,
I mean,
see,
she's an avid
I'm just
surfer.
imagining some of those darker videos on the web, but yeah, just lots of leather and some chains. And...
I would. Oh my God, I would. I'm so
Oh
in love
well,
with her.
fire
Oh, my
hose.
Don't talk about my girlfriend like that. That's my girlfriend.
Chains and ball gags.
Raw meat.
So we're gonna hold off on Tulsi Gabbard and The View trying to bring back the Red Scare.
Jussie Smollett.
Jussie Smollett. And first, I want to bring back some of the 90s for you guys.
Oh, God.
Out of the 90s montage of sounds you're about to hear, which one hits you the hardest?
Nickelodeon. Previously on X-Men.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum.
That was a Rowdy Piper slogan.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
I loved Ren and Stimpy.
Oh,
Horrors.
Windows 95. Why close?
That was at the end of every show, Nick.
Every Sunday night.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
That was late
Mike Myers when at his
I
prime.
did not have sexual relations with that woman.
You slammed her, you dumped her donut, you gave her dog a sausage, you stuffed her like a Thanksgiving turkey.
That was just great timing.
Okay, that's it.
The Nokia?
The Nokia.
Nokia.
The fucking Nokia. If you've never been on call, oh, especially in the 90s, oh my God. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that was the
that was
only
it. That was
ringtone it had. I don't think it had any others.
No, you did not get any. You did not get ring. Yeah, the Nokia ringtone was as stout as the damn thing. All I needed to do was just, electrical tape it to a handle, and I would have Molyneux, the indestructible hammer. Oh my God, you could not.
Cartoons.
No.
Do a barrel roll.
I remember this.
Oh, do a barrel roll. Do a barrel roll.
All the original
Sony
PlayStation.
Computer Entertainment.
Yeah.
Long Days of Final Fantasy VII. 4 discs big.
I love this game.
I played this stoned one time and I lost my damn mind.
I can imagine.
City of Townsville is under attack.
Life,
Oh yes.
It's away.
Every woman's fantasy.
Please
there.
tell me Rick Astley is somewhere on this clip.
I think
That
this
would be
actually
awesome.
would have been there's me right there. Stay up in the middle of the night. Crossfire.
You get caught up in the crossfire.
Really elaborate 80s games.
Oh
Okay.
man.
So that.
Hey, speaking
Okay,
of Ninja
so
Turtles.
that is my lead up. Okay, go ahead and talk while I bring this up.
Speaking of Ninja Turtles, I saw that Konami is bringing out a one of those television games with all of the Ninja Turtle games on it.
What?
Every single one.
Oh.
All the arcade ones, all the NES ones, all the Super NES ones, all on one system. I'm like, I got to buy that.
The Turtles game for NES still has not been replicated. That was like
No. And then you have the arcade ones where you can have all the players, all of them.
Oh my God, yeah.
They're adding, and then they just updated a new one for it where they added April and Splinter with the same concept.
Ooh.
So
And I'm like-
Splinter, I can understand, but what's April gonna do?
High
Take pictures and just be hot.
kicks.
Hot
Come on,
redhead.
That's
So which April did you like best? April in number 1, 2, or 3?
One,
you're talking about the movies, aren't you?
Yeah.
the original April O'Neil.
None of them
I think-
really left an impression.
I think number 1 was the better, like more true April, but number 2 was the hotter April.
Well, yeah, that was the one when like Raph was sitting in the bathtub like for like
No, that was number one.
Was that number one?
That was number one because
number
he got
two was
beat
Secret
up
of
at
the
April's
Use.
apartment. Secret of the Use is number two. Okay, so
Number
this one I'm not going to explain what it is, but
There are 9 items in your
9
list.
items to choose from. We have Frasier, Star Trek, Biden, Scooby-Doo, Joe Rogan, Bar Rescue, Batman, dinners, drive-ins and dives, and Trump.
Diners, drive-ins,
Diners.
and dives.
I go to bed
Okay,
to diners.
so-
I love that show.
We can vote, or you guys can choose. I won't vote. I'll let you guys pick. You can pick one, and then we'll do one at random. And I'll use random.org to pick the
I'll
random
do
one.
diners,
Sure.
dine
You want to do
diners,
diners,
and drives
drive-ins,
for
and
$500.
dives?
Okay, do the diners, drive-ins, and dives. That's fine. I watched certainly enough of that. I think I've probably watched as many as that as I have watched Frasier.
Okay.
It's just something
Be
about
ready.
that man.
Be
It's
ready.
just deranged. But it's like a
to
car
watch over
accident. You
1,000
can't-
hours of diners, drive-ins, and dives, and then asked it to write a diners, drive-ins, and dives episode of its own. Here is
Oh,
the first
no.
page.
Oh,
Diners,
God.
drive-ins, and dives. Interior parking lot. Guy Fieri sits in a convertible. He looks like America. Guy Fieri. I'm Guy Fieri, and there's nothing you can do about it. Today, I'm eating it all. Guy takes a bite out of his hair. Interior, diner's kitchen. Guy and a chef stand in a kitchen. Guy has 3 pairs of sunglasses on. The sun can't get him. Guy Fieri. Prove to me you can panini. The chef starts boiling a pot of milk. He's scared. Chef, Flavortown is near. Guy points at an onion with his slippery finger. Guy Fieri. That's one ugly clam. Interior, diner's eating room. Customer sits and eats a cup of mustard. Guy sits down without asking. Guy Fieri. I will live as food. I am food. Customer. Be a pie. Guy acts like a pie. The customers aren't concerned. Guy Fieri. I am Pie Fieri. It is my birthday. The chef comes out of the kitchen with a cake for Guy. Guy Fieri continued. The clams just keep getting uglier. Flavortown is near.
I hate those. I hate those with
So-
passion
What?
because I write AI
Why?
software.
Why'd you do that?
So what this is this is AI software that they fed scripts and speeches and stuff into to make its own based on AI. What
How did you do Batman?
you want to do, Batman?
No.
Oh, come on.
We'll
It's
do
been
that.
bells
Bought
been
to
rung.
watch over 1,000 hours of Batman movies and then asked it to write a Batman movie of its own. Here is the first page.
Oh, God.
Interior,
1,000
traditional
hours of
Batcave. Batman stands next to his Batmobile and uses his Bat computer. He's sometimes Bruce Wayne, sometimes Batman, all times orphan. Batman, this is now a safe city. I have punched a penguin into prison. Alfred, Batman's loyal battler, carries a tray of goth ham. Alfred, eat a dinner, mattress Wayne. An explosion explodes. The Joker and Two-Face enter the cave. Joker is a clown, but insane. Two-Face is a man, but attorney. Batman, no, it is Two-Face and One-Face. They hate me for being a bat. Batman throws Alfred at Two-Face. Two-Face flips Alfred with a coin. Alfred lands heads up, which means Two-Face goes home. Batman continued. It is just you and I, the Joker. Bat versus clown. Moral enemies. The Joker. I am such a freak, society is bad. You drink water, I drink anarchy. Batman. I drink bats just like a bat would. Batman looks around for his parents, but that's messed up. Batman looks around for his parents, but they are still dead. This makes him have anger. He fires a bat rocket. The Joker deflects it with his sixth sense of humor. A clowny power. A clownly power. The Joker. I have never followed a rule. That is my rule. Do you follow? I don't. Batman. Alfred, give birth to Robin. Alfred begins the process since it is his job. The Joker now has a present in his hand. He juggles it over to Batman. The Joker. Happy Bat Day, Birthman. Batman opens the present since he's a good guy. It contains a coupon for new parents, but is expired. This is a Joker joke. Every day we stray further from God's light.
God's light. God just turned off the light. What are you talking about? Oh my God! That's just...
Someone get the darkness on the way out. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Here, Batman, here's a coupon for new parents.
Oh, that's so terrible. Alfred, go birth Robin. How is Alfred gonna birth Robin?
How did they flip Alfred? He throws
a coin.
He flips Alfred and he lands heads up. It would have hurt if he landed heads down. Boink.
Oh man. Well, how would they determine if it was tails? I mean, does his ass fly in the air or something?
Yeah, no, he literally lands on his head, feet up. That's why I said boink.
Oh my God. All right, let's get this show ended. Oh my God, I don't think I can take anymore. So
we're doing we're doing some more next week.
Oh God. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This has been episode 30 of Fire Talk Radio. Again, website is firetalkradio.com. Our email address is firetalknetwork@gmail.com. If you want to leave us a voicemail, it's 814-380-9820. If you have questions or want to just figure out what we're talking about half the time, please just leave us a voicemail. It will enter the show somehow in some way. And again, we're live on YouTube every Monday night.
We might use predictive text.
Oh, Jesus. All right, Sean, you want to land us?
Alrighty, folks. Please put your tray tables up and your seat backs in the upright position. Or is it your seat backs up and your tray tables in the... Anyway, the stewardess will be around to collect the last few items, and please just ignore the horse sounds coming from the cargo bay as we're coming in. Anyway, thank you. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to your comes to traveling, and we're glad you chose Fire Talk Theater. And anyway, we'll be settling down and have a great rest of your flight.
We can only